What's up YouTube? In this video, I show you how I make this awesome hidden liquor cabinet in a 41-foot Meridian yacht. Check it out. If you spent any time on an RV, a boat, tiny home camper, whatever, you will appreciate every square inch of storage space that you have. This project's for a good friend of mine, and it's the first of its kind for me. So there was some trial and error in the beginning. Turns out great in the end, but there was definitely a learning curve. I start by disassembling the existing TV mount and the cabinet face. This cabinet was originally built for a TV with a larger footprint, and since this design hasn't changed in years, there's a ton of wasted space behind the TV. Throughout this process, I learned a couple of key lessons for building Uplift style cabinets, and first is how to select the right Uplift hinges, so let's dive right into that. There are a few things to consider when selecting the right hinges. First is the weight of the cabinet face or the door, and in our case the TV that's actually being lifted as part of the door. Actually weigh your items out and don't just guess like I did, because it turns out I was way off and I had much stronger hinges than I ever really needed. Another thing to consider is the upward swing angle and the clearance for not only the cabinet door, but also for the hinge arms. This means you should test the resting position, the clearance for the wood, the arms, and everything to articulate through its entire range of motion, both up and down, without one item striking another. This can be kind of tricky, and you are going to have to do several different mock-ups to really kind of test the full range of motion in this case. The mock-up of the TV backer, or the cabinet door, if you will, was another challenge. And the cabinet itself has a bit of a face frame, even though it's not actually a face frame cabinet. This meant that I had to use some scrap wood to mock up the layout of the hinges so that they would lay flat against the inside sides of the cabinet. I used a piece of MDF with about 10 coats of Rust-Oleum as the face or the door of the cabinet. The hardest part was measuring where to mount these hinges on what will be the new cabinet face in the back for the TV. I guesstimated the approximate location of the hinges as I mocked everything out. There were many mistakes made, and when it came time to co-locating the hinge brackets and the lift assembly, I wound up measuring from the outside edges and the bottom to try and get those to line up. So there was a lot of trial and error. The hinges I used are from Meridian hardware. I think that's how you say that. They're available in several different sizes and lifting capacities, and I'll post links below. We're reusing the flat screen TV that we had mounted there and the TV mounting bracket, which is actually the heaviest part of this assembly. I used two 30-pound hinges, which turned out to be way more torque than I needed. Definitely heed the warning labels on these hinges and watch your fingers. They are spring-loaded, and with the leverage of the actuating arms, they can pinch the crap out of your fingers and they will rip them to shreds. Ask me how I know. Meridian helped me out and put together a kit with a cross member that basically supports these two hinges across their span and helps them turn as one unit. Their online support and their over-the-phone support was great, and they got me in touch with a local supplier, which was just down the road, and they were great as well to just, kind of steer me in the right direction on something that I really had no idea how to put together. With the face mounted, the next thing I can do is make a custom insert or a template for the custom insert. Since there's a lot of movement on a boat, I needed a way to keep everything in place. I used cardboard and tape to mock up the height and the angle in this real awkward cabinet space. I mean, there's changing angles in every direction, and it also gets tighter at the top inside the cabinet than it is at the bottom, so a template is really the only way to go, and even then it's not foolproof. I still made some mistakes. After I have the general size worked out, I mock up a few different size cutouts for my friend's favorite bar inventory, and then I start cutting. I also make sides to stand the insert off the base of the cabinet about a third of the way up the bottles. I just use some wood glue and some nails to attach these pieces together, and again I'm going to use Rust-Oleum oil-based paint to try and encapsulate this MDF and attempt to make it as moisture resistant as possible. If I were to do this over again, I would probably use composite material like a PVC board. So one thing I overlooked was a shelf on the inside of the cabinet. We decided to add a shelf at the top, and that resulted in moving the hinges again And moving the hinges now meant that I had interference with this insert, and I had to make more alterations. So I had to pull everything back out, take it back to the shop, cut some notches, reassemble, repaint. We do it nice because we do it twice. So after that, I put everything back together, and then the soda stream still interfered with the new added shelf on top. I was able to save myself by cutting a hole through the top of the shelf so you could still access the button, and it just barely cleared the soda stream itself, but I made it work. You may also notice that I replaced the scrap boards that I use for the hinges on the sides of the cabinets with some extra pieces from disassembly that actually match the inside stain of the cabinet and give it a cleaner look. Final fit and finish actually turned out great. With everything in place and functioning the way I wanted it to, I tidy up the wiring, add some motion activated LED lights that are USB rechargeable, so no additional wiring needed, and I adjust the strength of the hinges so that the TV doesn't slam open or shut, and doesn't unintentionally open while the boat's underway with waves and movement and everything else. Overall, it turned out great, and I am looking for a reason to do another project like this.